This week on Waxing the Porpoise, G-Baby and the usual suspect Steve welcome again special guest and friend Richard, picking up right where we left off from last week's episode. While it might be impossible for us not to find the humor in even the darkest of situations, the tone of this episode is much more severe to be sure. Join us as Richard discusses the events leading up to the murder of his mother, Donna Louise Young, the act itself, and the immediate aftermath he was forced to navigate. In doing so, we hope to pay respect by sharing her story while emphasizing the strength and grace in which Dick Dawg has forged ahead and been such a positive force throughout his life. Let's wax this tragic porpoise.
Chase, don't do that.
See, we working on his brow chakra. We're just in back of the crown chakra.
All right, welcome once again to Waxing the Porpoise. Back again here assembled on December 10th in the year of our Lord, 2022. Tonight, again, we are doing a continuation of last week's episode where we talked with our good friend Richard, aka Dick Dawg. So yeah, this week will just be a straight continuation. So we're on the Coors Light Chronicles Volume 2. Tonight, you've got myself, Jim G. Baby. Dude, right when I do that, these fucking bumps don't work. I just tested one.
He needs some milk.
Dude, that it really does piss me off. It's like I pay for
Coors Light milk.
Fucking thing
Oh yeah,
sucks.
Dick, are you gonna share your secret recipe for beer and milk?
Probably not tonight.
Okay.
Actually, I haven't done that combo in about a year.
I'm gonna go. Where the fuck did it just go?
It's the G-Funk era.
Of course, to my far virtual right, we have the co-host, usual suspect, Steve.
You ungrateful he-bitch.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
Good.
Nice. And of course, we have, once again, Richard, aka Dick Dawg.
Toucan Sam, give us loops of fruit. Fruity loops. Fruit loopies.
Fruit loopy loops of fruit. Oh, Maya Angelou.
David Allen Greer as Maya Angelou.
Oh, man, that's a classic episode.
Yes, it is. Good
She
to have
did
you back,
Butterfinger
man.
too, Pennzoil.
Yes. Dude, those skits are awesome. The quality has dipped like dramatically from that era, I feel. Like
big
Phil
time.
Hartman.
You know, Steve's really upset.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I was able to get through a full ep.
Yeah. In my opinion, the only good ones like in the last 5 years have been when Dave Chappelle guest hosted. He's had some pretty banging intros and a couple skits. He just did one recently on House of the Dragon where he brought in the Player Haters Ball characters.
Oh, nice.
And did like a spoof of the new Game of Thrones spinoff. So that was pretty good.
Shit, I haven't even seen that. I'll have to look at it.
Yeah, that one's good. Anyway, so yeah, we're back again. We got some good feedback for the first episode. I mean, as we thought, Dick's got an amazing story. Really interesting things that have happened along the way. So definitely wasn't going to fit into one volume, and it'll probably go beyond two. But yeah, we're just kind of picking up kind of where we left off. So I'll let you start us out, Dick, and we'll just continue the story. I think last we stopped. It's Corning high school era. And what time frame is this too? Just for point of reference.
90 to 94.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, freshman year started in fall of 90 and graduated in June of 94 on like a 115 day wearing caps and gowns outside. Not a comfortable day.
No.
But no, I had a good time. I met a lot of good people along the way. I really just kind of hung out with my couple of friends. Was a pretty decent student, but nothing that was gonna make me valedictorian.
What about valedictorian?
Yeah. Sorry. I pre-gamed a little bit with some Coors Lights, and I'm not too bright, anyways.
Well, you're no valedictorian, but I was gonna let it go, but then I saw the twinkle in Jim's eye. And
Yeah, I was like,
just
"Are you
couldn't let
gonna
it go.
are you gonna go for this right now?" Or, yeah, I heard maybe it reminded me of Velveeta.
Dick's never had a hard time making friends with like any group that he's around. He plays a lot of softball too, and I haven't even told you this, Dick, but there have been so many times where I'll meet somebody or like playing golf or just out in the wild, and they'll have a softball jersey on, and I'll just ask them like, "You know Dick Dawg?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I know Dick Dawg." Like every single time.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's not like a tiny.
He's just
It's
a
not like
local idiot.
More than you know.
And that's funny too because it's not like this region we're talking about. It's not like a small backwater town. It's this pretty sizable city. So it's pretty crazy. That you've met that many people that you've met, just strangers that happen to know.
Well, and Dick has also passed people in traffic and then added them on Facebook later that day. So
I kind of cut that out a while ago, but there are probably some people I need to trim off my list.
it's like, Dick, are you friends with the mailman who comes to our work on Facebook?
One of the old ones. He was a Dodger fan. Not the current one. But I have played softball against the current one. Actually, a long-bearded coworker of ours ran over him at the plate during a softball game when we were playing the Postal Service, fucked up something in his arm, and
Tore
he's
his
still,
rotator
like,
cuff?
because it wasn't a work-related injury, he has to pay out of pocket and like $5,000 to get it repaired.
Damn.
And that's the current guy that picks up our mail.
Well,
But
I think
he was
remember
injured by one of the guys that I managed, so I think I feel partly responsible.
well the team Richard used to play for tried to literally kill Jim out on the softball field, almost took his fucking eyeball out. Dick put a hit out on him, I think. They were doing some it was like Bounty Gate for local softball. They put a bounty on his head and took him out.
Hey, I was the only one that worked there that wasn't on the team, so
Yeah,
had to do what he had to do. So I
it was
enlisted
a short
good buddy
list.
of mine to take Jim out.
Yeah.
Hey, that's Bounty Soft.
Should we put that photo up?
Oh god.
I still have it. Yeah, I could. Yeah, I got tagged with a softball in the eye, and it wasn't the. I wish it would have been the co-ed sponge ball, because it still probably would have smarted, but it wouldn't have had that kind of impact, I don't think. But
And that was like from 6 feet away.
I can't remember how far away it was.
You
I
were
feel like I
pretty
was
close to
half.
second.
I felt like I was a little close, like 2/3 of the way from first to second.
You were
And I had
closer than
start-
that, man. It was.
Oh,
boom,
okay.
boom.
Yeah, it was pretty close.
Okay. Yeah, I remember sliding and going like halfway down or halfway through the slide is when it happened. It was like the perfect like point where head level was where like someone, he did like a sidearm throw. So
Yeah.
the plane
That was on purpose.
the plane made
Yeah.
it up like perfectly. Like it was a perfect storm of like wrong place, wrong fucking time. But
And
yeah,
you could just hear Dick in the background saying, "Get him." I didn't really understand what he meant at the time, but in hindsight, we should have known.
Yeah, you noticed I didn't even go check on you.
Yeah. Oh, and my favorite part about that is one of Richard's stupid Facebook friends comes running over and is like, "I'm a doctor," and he's like looking at him and feeling around, and then a few minutes later he walks away. I was like, "Who is that guy? He's a doctor?" And someone's like, "He's a chiropractor."
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it's just like I bet we could do like a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like you would be a shoe-in to replace him. Like 6 degrees of Dick Dawg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's a group of people that he couldn't get along with.
Right.
There are some, but
Well, that's how you know that they're like, if you don't want to get along with them or be like even civil, then you that's your barometer for like, okay, whoever that is a true piece of shit, you know?
Yeah. All
They're like
right.
a
So
divining rod.
divining rod.
Isn't that what they call those things? Those fucking where you're looking for water. What do they call that?
Yeah.
Like the
Take
old
stick is like a fork in the road.
yeah.
Little
It's like a
Y.
yeah. Why?
Not sure if it works, but
Yeah. Anyway, that's a stupid tangent to bring up.
we got a lot of water out here right now because I like waddle.
Yep. It rained, and boy, we need it.
Yeah, we do.
So, Dick narrowly missed getting valedictorian, and then
So then, yes, I trying to expedite this story. Went up to Shasta College for about 6 weeks. I had to work a lot in quarantine. I had to take the bus, so I mean, it was like school wasn't really in the plan. So I lasted about 6 weeks and was working at a local pizza parlor where ended up working with a lot of friends of mine and met a lot of great people along the way, but that's not why we're here today.
Wait. When you said, just for point of reference, like when you said you went to Shasta College,
Yeah.
you had to take a bus there.
Yeah.
How long was that bus ride? Was that all the way to
I don't
Reading,
know.
or
You'd
was
be
that?
leaving at 6 if you had to, get up there and come back in the evening.
Damn.
Wasn't anything, and then I had to work. So days that my schedule started before the bus would get home, I wasn't going to school.
Yeah, like those days it was
You got to
way
make that
harder.
$4.25 an hour.
Yeah, if you didn't have your own transportation, like back then, like your options were pretty fucking limited. Now with like
Yeah.
it's pretty stark contrast, like how much easier it is to find classes online, especially post pandemic. Like it's really tailored to that and kind of open a new door. But it's just it's I'm sorry to go off on this tangent again, but just like to emphasize the place and time where we are, it's like that wasn't that long ago. We're talking about like early to mid 90s. It's just wild how quickly the world has changed in that regard, you know. So
Yeah,
like
you
you
can
had to
just-
make that decision, like I'm either working or I'm going to school, and
I know.
which
I
one
know
wins
high
out.
school students that are just take online classes.
Yeah, it's nuts, dude. My daughter, who's in kindergarten, they have designated like every 2 or 3 weeks. It's a stay at home, like on e-learning day, where she stays home and works on a fucking iPad on like every third Wednesday.
And that's probably more because of COVID, because they got so used to it and they know they can do that now. So
Yeah, and they cut staff and people, you know, so it's become part of like the structure now of shit, and it just kind of blows me away. It's like kindergartner shouldn't be on a fucking iPad, but what are you gonna do? Anyway, crazy world we live in right now.
all
It
right.
do.
It do. So yeah, just spent my late teens and in the early 20s bouncing between Butte and Shasta, or Shasta Butte, Shasta Butte. In '98, I moved to Chico. My buddy of mine, we were in a car coming back from Woodson Bridge into town, and we rolled his truck 3.5 times, which was fucking insane.
Damn.
Like, I was able to count the divots in the orchard where the truck had hit, and we ended up upside down.
Replace your divots. How fast were you going when you lost control?
Not too excessively speeding, but he veered off the road.
Like
I tried to
more
help
than
him
50?
correct, and
Like more than 50
we
miles an
just
hour?
we just hit the ditch and then started flipping. So I would say we were on a road. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but South Avenue.
Yeah,
From Woodson Bridge.
that means
Not-
nothing.
not
to
too-
started rolling.
not too excessively speeding.
how fast? If you
We're
had to
probably going
judge,
65.
dude, that's
And-
pretty quick, man.
Yeah.
To veer and flip going at that speed. Damn, that's nuts. I've never flipped anything.
So how did it happen? He started drifting one way, and you tried to grab the wheel to pull it
'cause
back.
we
Or?
were heading into the ditch, and so I was like, "Oh shit!" And then we had our friend Sarah in the. She was in the middle part of the. This is like a Chevy GMC. Or
I was gonna guess. Was it like an S10
yeah,
or like
something
a
like
Chevy
that, but
Love?
a bigger one. And we just ended up flipping over, and then so the car's upside down, and I get out of the window, and it was smashed in, and then all of a sudden I was asking if everybody was okay, and my friend, she started screaming that she couldn't release her seatbelt, so like, movies, and you're like, oh shit, this thing's gonna blow up at any moment. I was like,
Right.
fuck. So I had to crawl in, and like before my back went out on me, I was able to lift her up and undo the seatbelt because there's so much tension on her. We got out, and I was like, "Where's Matt? Where's my buddy?" And he was already out. He got his whole side of the car. Luckily, he was shorter than I was smashing even more. He was able to get out, and so that
Was anybody hurt or?
Yeah. What was the
nobody
aftermath of
was
this?
hurt.
And was he just tired and like, or it was just like a
No.
momentary lapse in judgment, or?
It was we'd been partying, but he wasn't
Okay.
drunk. But it was early in the morning, like 4 a.m. We'd been out at the bridge.
As one does.
Yes, well, that's what you do in Corning.
Yeah.
So
Chase, what the fuck were you thinking about here?
to say long story long, my his parents, because he was a Chico State student and he was just home for the summer, ended up paying our deposit to move to Chico just to get out of Corning because we were just doing stupid stuff, which I'm sure is going to come up on later episodes, or a later episode. I don't know if I'll be invited back again.
Don't do that.
No, I know, I'm just joking. You can edit that shit out, right? Or you just gloss over that?
Whatever. When I start editing, I try to listen and act like a listener, and I'm not a fucking expert. I edit out what I think flows better. But I mean, I don't have a lot of time either, so I got to be kind of economical. But
I know. And that's why I want to try to get through this and get to.
Don't even worry about that shit. Honestly, like I feel like the quicker that you can get into a mode of like not worrying about time limits or like that we have to make this shit interesting is when it makes sense and it flows. So just
Cool.
Don't worry about anything. We're doing fine. I'm gonna have another sip of whiskey. I've been trying to find pickle juice.
I got we ended up moving to Chico in 1998, and I remember the coolest thing was we actually got cable. First time in my life where I had cable TV, and I was able to watch ESPN. Other than the hotel room with that famous picture that Steve loves so much.
Yeah, there's a great picture of Dick. I don't know how old you are, like 8, maybe 10.
Dude, no, I was in high school. That was Shiloh Inn and Corning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, it's been a while
You
since I've
see
seen the
how
picture.
luscious the hair was?
But you don't see the TV in the picture, but you just see him mesmerized. Like I imagine you would look if you saw like a ghost off screen, and he's just sitting there looking at it. Yeah, his mouth agape, just completely transfixed on whatever he's looking at in this dog shit little motel room. And when we first saw the picture,
that was one of the nicer motels in Corning at the time.
Yeah, me growing up in Corning, I was like, dude, Shiloh Inn is like nice.
This is
like
when I asked him,
this is like the Ritz Carlton.
I'm like, Richard,
They had
what's
a
happening?
telephone in the bathroom, so if you're on the toilet, you can make a call out. That's how nice it was.
It was funny when he showed us the picture. I'm like, what's going on in this picture? Did you just suffer a traumatic brain injury? Because the look on his face, he's so mentally vacant. He's like, no, that was the first time I got to watch ESPN in a hotel room. I'm like, oh, okay.
Thank you, Grandma and Grandpa.
And I think as a point of reference too, just to like frame up where Chico is. So I think Chico's claim to fame is like, what was it, like 1978, 1979? It got listed as like the #1 party school in America by Playboy. That's kind of like what put it on the map. And it's famous. It's been famous outside of that for being a party school since like the 60s.
Yeah.
And
it's where Aaron Rodgers is from. I believe, fun fact about Chico, it was the site of the first commercial airline hijacking in the United States back in the 60s or 70s. I think so.
Huh. That's crazy.
So proud of our town.
Yeah.
That's just like a wild fact attached to the town. This is a little college town,
But
like
go ahead.
just a little college party town in the middle of nowhere in Northern California,
And Corning is a truck stop town about 20 miles away on I-5.
along I-5.
That's
correct.
Interstate 5. You can take that road all the way to Dodger Stadium and Disneyland.
That's right.
Yeah, the former. And Corning is the former olive capital of the world. They had that title stolen from them.
Yeah. What is it now?
Yeah,
Somewhere in
bullshit.
Portugal or Spain?
I don't know. I don't recognize it.
It's Corning all the way, man. Bell Carter.
Yep.
Oh, we used to take slingshots and take olives that were just not very ripe and just shoot them at each other. Oh, man.
Dude, you know what my favorite was you know those the trees that drop those like little balls that are like spiky, super spiky, and then in the fall
They
when
pop your tire, so you got to walk your bike home for 2
no,
miles. Yeah,
they're
those are
they're
awesome.
kind of like that, but they're different. They're more dense, and they don't have like the air holes through them. So it kind of looks like a crab apple or a horse apple. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's like super round, super dense, and in the fall they dry up. They're like bright ass green. They dry up, and when you if you take them in between your hands, you like rub them, and they turn into like it's like a cat of nine tails, like or the a cattail in like a creek. You know how like it's like cotton candy, like it breaks up and it's fluffy.
Yeah, we used to call those like itchy powder balls.
Itchy balls, yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
If you got that shit down your shirt, oh my
Dude.
god.
Yeah, you get like 4 or
But
5 of them and fucking stuff them down someone's back.
Oh,
Ah!
Do you want to hear how much of an asshole I was? And I thought I was just being funny. So back when we lived in El Dorado County, we were at the El Dorado County Fair, and I bought with whatever little allowance money I had some itching powder, and this was no. I'm just thinking I'm being funny. I threw it down Melissa's back. We had sensitive skin.
Wait, she already had sensitive skin to begin with?
This is 5th grade, and I love Melissa to death. And throwing the wad of paper at her, we were throwing it at everybody, so I was trying to be inclusive.
in case people don't have their show notes with them, Melissa was your special needs sister, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
the one that you physically assaulted on the bus with paper.
it was a wad of paper, and it was from a great distance, and we were throwing it at everybody. So
It was a short bus, so it really couldn't have been that great of a distance.
no. That was a Corning bus. That was a. So there are so many things in retrospect where I feel like a fucking total dick, but
So what happened when you poured the
I
itching
love her.
powder down her shirt?
yeah, so we ended up after having to drive from Coloma to Placerville for by the way, these are towns in El Dorado County in California. So Steve will know.
The Catalina wine mixer.
So we ended up having to leave the fair after about 45 minutes, and that pretty much
Because she didn't take well to the powder. Is that what you're saying?
yes.
Damn, not only did you do that, it also caused you guys to have
I'm a younger kid. I was the youngest. I was like,
I'm just giving you shit. I'm just saying though, this is a double whammy because during this age period, going to the fair was fucking fun, or the carnival. That was like
I
a good
know.
time. So you also had to cut that short too. That's like, double whammy.
Yeah, well, I
Nice.
fucked up. I'm an asshole.
I think we all have things from our past that we look back
Yeah.
on and with regret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I had more
Anyways,
regrets.
so the
that
itchiness
were
of the cat o' nine tails
like that.
brought that back.
That's just keeping busy when you're bored in the summer, torturing your friends.
Or
How can we
handicap
one up
sister.
torturing each other?
Oh, what you did, yeah. I was out of line. I think I got grounded.
Well, you paid your penance then.
All right, so to move this along, I moved to Chico. We lived in such a great time. I'm probably making $6 an hour, but we had a 4-bedroom townhouse across from West Park Plaza where Steve once roamed.
Nice.
Sorry to give away your location. And
Excuse me.
it was awesome. It was $800 a month for a 4-bedroom townhouse.
Wait, even back in
1.5
'98?
baths.
I guess that tracks. Okay.
Yeah.
But now, I bet you that thing's probably
1650,
Yeah. I bet.
probably more than that.
maybe more. Yeah.
I mean, it's still probably a shithole, but yeah, I bet you it's at least double.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I spent. I was working for the same pizza chain that I did in Corning, and moved to an apartment right behind the local college baseball stadium, which was cool because my room was upstairs, right behind center field, so I could sit there watch games.
Oh, really?
Without,
Like,
without paying for a ticket, that's stealing.
I know, or you can go on the roof. It did feel like stealing, but it's like,
you wouldn't steal
what are
a
you gonna do,
car.
man?
Would you
It's a
steal a
long
movie?
walk to the front gate, and I'm just right here out my window. Beer's cheaper.
So that means because there's a train track that goes right behind that field. So
Yeah.
so your apartment, your bedroom window was opening onto the train track.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, and the first apartment, the townhouse, was as close to the train track as that apartment.
Yeah, that's
So I
true.
went from the end of 4th to just the other side along 32. That's the
Yeah.
highway.
I used to live on the like diametrically opposed to you, so like kitty corner, and on the other side of the tracks on Second and Cedar. I lived in an apartment right.
Jim and I actually lived in the same apartment complex at different times in our life.
You lived at North Cedar?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yep.
was a
We
sketchy
were in
part of
the-
town, man.
Oh yeah. And when I lived there, this was 06, I guess. It was
Wait.
the same kind. Wait.
Go
It was,
ahead.
it was the same deal. It was four bedrooms, $800 a month. It was
Yeah.
such a shithole.
That's what
I
made
lived
me
on
think
North
of that. I
Cedar
was like,
before I moved here.
that's what made me think of that when you were like 800 back in '98. I was like, wait, is that right? And then I was like, oh yeah, shit. I remember when I lived with 4 people, our rent was $200 each for rent
Yeah.
in a tiny little 4-bedroom space. And then the fucking train tracks was right there. Like, I remember there was a dude committed suicide on those train tracks one time, and we went out there. Hella people were out there, and we were like, what's going on? And this lady and her like kids were there watching it, and she's like, yeah, this young man just ran up in front of the train tracks, pulled his pants down to his ankles, and it fucking nailed him. I was like, what?
That's an interesting detail.
Yeah, that's a weird, like, why is that? What was that part about? But that would be something I'd actually be interested to like go back and look at. Like, I didn't think to remember that until right now in the context of Dick's story. Like, I wonder if that was like made up on the spot or if that was like a detail they included. And anyway,
It seems like once every few years somebody gets killed on the tracks. I always just assumed it was like a drunk person using
Yeah.
the tracks to like walk home from the bars, and they either pass out or don't hear the thing coming, or they're just so fucked up I don't know, who knows, but
it is pretty close to the college and like the party scene, like downtown on different points, because it kind of bisects that. So, yeah, that would be like, it would make sense that at least every 10 years you'd have a handful of deaths directly from that. Just like some idiot that's fucking drunk and yeah. Anyway.
I had a roommate, and I've had a lot of roommates, but I was like, hey, where'd that puka shell necklace go? And
Nice.
she's like, oh, I thought this was so-and-so's. I'm all, well, can you get it back for me? That was mine. And then he committed suicide. Like, that was it. He was going, it wasn't an accident, in front of the train right there by where the bike path crosses to go to Nord.
Jesus Christ.
So,
Was it
yeah,
the- was
that
it
was
the
like a week after I'd asked for the necklace back.
was it the shame of having a puka shell necklace?
Yeah, well, no, and it was a gift from somebody who went to Hawaii. It was nice, but yeah, it's weird. My mom, when I moved here and she found out I was like living near the tracks, she was like, "Be careful, don't be like." I'm like, "Mom, I know, I can tell when the train's coming. Like, I'm okay.
I'm able to
But she
avoid
let me walk around
trains.
Oakland when I'm like 4 to go get
Yeah.
my sister by myself. I was like, wait, now is when you're going to check on me and tell me to be careful?
Well, I can see that being more scary because, 4, you're like 4, but, when you're 20 or 22 around there, it's like, you're able to get into a lot more shit. You know, you're able to
Well, and
do.
she's further away, so she probably feels like she has less control over,
Yeah.
And she's like, my fucking son is wearing puka shell necklaces. Who knows what other bad decisions he's making out there?
Hey man, this is 2000. Man.
This is unbelievable.
Probably made a lot of bad decisions, but
Hey,
I'm here today, so I got
who
through.
hasn't? Lord knows I have.
I've never seen so many dead hookers in my life.
Hello, real cops.
All right, where were we at?
All right, so you've been in Chico a while now. You're doing your own thing. You're hanging, you're banging,
and this is where I think I want to get the story going. We can
Yeah.
come back to. There's a lot of gaps to fill in, but due to time constraints and our commercial sponsors, I think that we need to pick it up.
Coors Light, pay me.
Hey, G.
What?
Can you pause so I can take a piss?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll just timestamp it right now and then go for it.
Okay.
35
Talk
minutes.
amongst yourself.
I'm getting a little verklempt. Pee break. Dude, did you see that? We made the film review subcategory charts on that was Apple Podcasts, which is like the biggest.
Was that
I think
was that for a specific episode or just the show in general? Or
it's just the show in general is the way they track it. I think a lot of the Apple in specific hides like what their criteria is for rankings, so that in an effort for podcasts not to like game the system and figure out like how to play to the rankings versus playing to the listener and like just making good content. That's their stated purpose. I'm sure they have other nefarious reasons for not sharing how they quantify, because I've seen other reports too where it's like, hey, if you know the right company, you can pay them to get on like, new and noteworthy and relevant and actually bump you up on charts, so you'll just be visual, because most people go in and they look at like the top 100 for each subcategory or whatever they're looking for, and like, oh, this looks good, and they'll try that. So yeah, I'm sure there's a backdoor built into that too, but at any rate, it's like an aggregate for your show. Like I wouldn't be able to pin it back, but you could infer like anecdotally based on like our podcast host shows like all the downloads like by day and by week per episode. So you could look at a couple different resources and be like, oh, it was probably because of this. And for December 8th, that's when I released the episode for the first volume of Coors Light Chronicles. So we got a decent
the
bump.
link I sent you that we are now cultural tastemakers, because Goblin Mode became the like word of the year for 2022.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah. You heard it here first, folks.
Our influence knows no bounds. But their definition of it made so much more sense than yours at the time. Like, I was reading it like, oh yeah, that makes more sense than somebody walking around like, I'll be having that.
That was a total like anecdotal poll I found on Reddit that I just thought was fucking funny. Like that person's interpretation of it, and it's probably just something someone made up. But I like to think in my mind like there's someone that actually does that and had that moment with where the neighbor asked them like, yeah, I heard this shit going on. They're like, yeah, it beats me. Yeah. And then they're having like an internal paranoia crisis about like, fuck, they know. Like, anyway.
Do you mind if I take a couple quick drags off this real quick before I get started on this next part?
No, go
Can you do it quick?
Yeah. I'm not going to smoke the whole thing, man. It just...
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm not making you mad, all right?
No.
I'm just trying to get like ready to tell this part, so...
I don't got shit to do.
Nobody's mad.
This ain't going to make the show, is it?
No.
All right, cool.
Maybe some of it.
I think it should.
I peeled off some stuff, and I put Coors Light Chronicles Volume 1 bonus that I'll come back and revisit. I have a couple chunks of shit. Like I recorded when you and I first got going, like when we did a trial just to so I could fuck with the audio quality. And when I botched the Highlander episode, when I was scrambling before we chose to cover the jaunt to like make up for it, I was like, fuck, maybe I can cobble together some of our first recording, because we just started talking about shit, and we did go off on a couple funny like things that we remembered, tangents, and I trimmed that down pretty good to where it could be almost like a standalone like mini cast. Like, so I pieced together some of the first part of Highlander that was like not corrupted. It's like 15 minutes worth. So between that, I'm trying to like cobble together a couple like bonus sets of stuff in case we get into a spot, and maybe I can just
It'd
put
be
something out.
it'd be funny to put out like a 5 minute version of the Highlander episode. Like it was fine.
Yeah. Steve thought it sucked. I think it's the greatest thing
It was okay. Sean
ever known
Connery
to
was really
man.
confusing and gay.
Yeah, he didn't
It was
belong.
fine. Christopher Lambert,
Says
Raiden. He's French.
the fucking the guard from Shawshank is in it. The asshole. He wields a sword.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Good old Clancy Brown.
Let's go, Mike. We got things to do.
What was that
Damn,
one from?
that's a long bump. That was from Phantasm 2.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it sounded
That was
familiar.
right after burying his wife and kids, and he just says, "Let's go, Mike.
Oh yeah.
We got things to do." And then they go, "We have 4-barreled shotguns and flamethrowers to build
Sick.
at the local hardware store and kill few." I don't want the other thing too. At the risk of sounding fucking sappy or something, or over talking this thing. If you don't want to talk about anything, we don't have to talk about anything. Or if you change your mind or something, this is just a platform, and you said you wanted to talk about it, and it's meaningful to you. So we'll go as far as you want to take this.
Yeah. And feel free to ask any questions. I'll answer questions. I'm fine talking about this story. It's, I guess, part of what makes me weird. I didn't like shelter myself or shut down after everything. Like I've always
I don't
been
think that
able
makes
to,
you. I don't think that makes you weird. I think that's what's exceptional about the whole thing. Like if I'm being real.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that have gone through things, not so much like this, but just, people dying of illness and stuff, and they just can't get over it. And to me, it's kind of weird. It's not weird. I was like, that person you lost would want you to go on and be strong.
Right.
And a lot of these people that I know have trouble doing that. And I don't know what to say to them because I've been through something.
Well, what you what you went
eventful.
through was so much worse, because I have seen that too, where somebody loses like an elderly parent to old age, and it just fucking devastates them. It's like, I mean, this is normally a part of life, but when you lose your mom so young in such a unexpected way, no one would blame you for being like mentally fucking broken by that. So just the fact that you're not.
I think it made me mentally stronger, even though I was, I didn't have to go to preschool, so I was already pretty much a genius.
Yeah.
You already had that chip on your shoulder. I didn't have to go to fucking preschool, you little baby.
I couldn't afford to go to preschool, probably.
No, yeah, I agree with Steve. I mean, yeah, like it's an exceptional set of circumstances that no one should ever have to experience, and the way in which you have and you've continued to live your life, I think it's inspiring, and it's not to be too sappy though. It's just it's an exceptional example of like you can go on and continue to be a productive member of society, a good person, a good friend, and a positive example, and to someone else that's going through something really rough and traumatic too. It's like there is a way out. You do have a choice, although not everyone's created equal, and everyone's got a different life experience and they're looking through a different viewfinder.
That's what I mean. I can't understand everybody's mindset.
But with all that said, I think you set a positive example, like of being able to overcome and not let it define or dominate you.
So every story has a hero and a villain, right? And so in this case, Dick is obviously the hero of this story. But I'm wondering if, Dick, you're willing to talk a little bit about the man who is the villain in this particular story.
Oh,
A man
yeah.
by the name of Timothy Walter Woodhall.
Yes. All right. So, living in Corning, my best friend, sorry, John, Dennis was my best friend. Loved you too, dog. But he lived down the street, about 5 houses down from this guy, Tim Woodhall. And this is early 90s. Would go, Dennis and his family was close friends with Tim, and he lived with his mom. And would go over there, play RBI baseball, would be out in the street throwing the football around. And Tim, Steve, do you have his age? I don't think I have it
I think he's like 64, I think.
He's 64 now, yeah. So
Okay.
I'm 46. So what's that, 18 years?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, I can do math.
Quick maths.
Did you say meth?
The 49-minute mark, writing that one down.
Quick aside, I don't know. I can edit this out too. I'm just curious. Do you know what crosstops are, Dick? Have you ever heard that term? Crosstops.
No.
In an illicit nature of drug?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've heard of a
Fucking
cross top.
scumbag.
They were like amphetamines that you could get, like they were pills. I think they were like diet pills in like the 70s and 80s. One of my football coaches
that was before my
like,
time, before I knew any.
Okay.
I knew Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, that was after. That was like shit you could
Fen-Phen?
buy. That was like shit you could buy at the gas station.
Yeah,
remember
I know.
In like the late
I thought that's
70s.
what you're talking about.
No, in the late 70s, one of my football coaches was like, dude, he's like, I can remember like freshman JV year, we go in at halftime and the fucking trainer would give us crosstops and they were like amphetamines. They were like pharmaceutical grade. And he's like, we'd go out there and fucking just like be looking to rip someone's head off.
That was half our football team, but I don't know.
Anyway, crosstops, yeah. I was just curious if you knew what those were.
No. Not a complete junkie. All right, we were talking about Tim. So used to, I knew the guy for a long time, and after I moved to Chico, there's a lot of churches in Corning. I'm not religious personally, but my sister Melissa was. I remember I got busted doing something, and my mom's form of grounding me was to send me to
Vacation
church
Bible
with
School
Melissa on Sundays, thus missing the Niner games. Oh yeah,
Double whammy.
That was like a 3-week stretch. But she went to this little church, the Church of Christ, as I think they're all called, or unless they're Latter-day Saints or whatever.
Christ the Redeemer.
Right. Block down from the 7-Eleven in Corning. G.
Oh, okay.
All right, yeah. So behind Les Schwab.
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve, for leaving you out on this one.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
It's okay.
So
I
it's
know
a little
there's a lot of
white
Corning
church.
listeners.
I hope so.
We'll have to bring up Sprouse Ritz one of these days.
Oh, cornet. Anyways, all right. So Melissa met Tim at church. So I didn't have anything like she wasn't like hanging out at Dennis's and met Tim one day. Tim was a church guy. His mom went there.
Does Tim also have some mental issues or no?
Oh, I would say yes. But because I'll get to that later.
Okay. But at the time, he was just...
But yes. At the time, no, he was...
Did you notice anything at the time, or was he just like one of the... like a dude down the street that you knew that was
No.
A
I
friend
was
of a
like,
friend kind of thing.
this dude is off his rocker. He had
Oh,
this
okay.
little ass Toyota pickup. Worked at the one of the local gas stations. Remember, he had one of those '80s one speaker radios sitting on the back of his bench seat of his little Nissan pickup. That was his stereo in the car.
Hell yeah.
But he worked at the same gas station that Dennis worked at, and so I've known him forever. And moved to Chico, and then one day Melissa and Tim, I can't remember how long they'd been dating, but they decided to get married, and it was kind of weird for us that all right, this is Melissa, she wants to lead her own life, and I'll come into play later on. But my mom always had an open door policy for all three of us that if you ever need to move home, my door's always open for you no matter what, even though it wasn't much, but that's the kind of person she was. So I remember the wedding. It was a small wedding. It was mostly people from her church. My mom, Jennifer, me. I gave Melissa away to Tim. It was, I've got some pictures, and a lot of them from that day, I've either cut him out of the picture, but I've came across some that still feature him in it. So, we had the wedding. Oh, my grandparents were definitely there because I have some other photos. We were at the local restaurant. There weren't a lot of restaurants in Corning, but I remember having pictures. My cousin was there. So I think the whole family was there. And it was a very small family, but
What year was the wedding?
I want to say 90. I want to say 99 or 2000 at some point.
Okay.
I feel bad. I don't have the date of that on there.
No.
Well, fuck, that was 23, almost 25 years ago. What?
Yeah.
How long had they been dating in the background that you were either aware or unaware of before they
I don't know.
decided,
I would
hey,
say
let's.
this was a
So like,
9-month courtship, as the
okay,
people in the day would say.
as it were. Okay.
So, and I remember whenever I would come to town, which wasn't very often because I was a scumbag and didn't have my own vehicle, making probably
You
at
don't
this
have your own
point.
vehicle, you're a scumbag.
Yeah, I was like, you're a scrub sitting out the passenger side of your best friend's ride.
You
And
got
that's
it.
how I would get there. My roommate Matt. That's how, because he's from Corning, so that's how I would get. I would see my family when he would go to Corning. He would drop me off with them,
Even after he
or
almost killed you and your friend Sarah, you still hopped in his passenger side.
yeah, yeah. After he almost killed us, I don't know. I
Was this after
probably had something to do with that, but I
three
think
flips?
it would have been
Yeah.
worse if I didn't interject. But
3.5 flips.
it was. Well, we were upside down, so that's not a full flip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how long they'd been dating. I don't know how long they were actually married before everything happened, but I do know that at some point Melissa was being abused. So she decided to move home. And Tim thought that my mom wanted her Social Security check as just extra money, which is far from the truth. It was just you ever need to move home, you can.
Right.
Now, at this point, I'm in Chico. Jennifer's, I don't know where I think she's in Corning, but yeah, she is in Corning.
Did I space that out? Who's Jennifer?
My
The other
older
sister.
That's right. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So she's in
I'm
Corning.
an idiot.
Melissa is living with Tim, like 2 blocks down from the 7-Eleven, post office, and this little apartment with Tim. And whatever, I don't know. I wasn't told about what was going on. I just knew that Melissa was wanting to move home.
So you didn't hear it
No.
as like, oh, there's fucked up shit going on. They're not getting along.
I didn't really
and
hear that. I just knew that Melissa was moving home.
She's moving home. Okay.
That's par for the course. This guy's a fucking idiot.
Okay.
He looked like Sonny Bono, man. I fucking.
What does that have to? What does fucking Vietnam have to do?
I don't know.
Anything?
It just sticks in my mind. The fucker looks like Sonny Bono, and I can't get it out of my mind.
Sorry.
Sorry. Don't be sorry, man. Hopefully, we have a few laughs along the way because I
don't want to try to make.
that.
I don't want it to be too morbid, but that is that it's just a funny detail to associate.
Well, if I send you the photo of the wedding, and
I'll
if
understand.
you post that on the cover, you'll see he looks like fucking Sonny Bono.
Okay, got it.
All right. So Melissa's moving home because he's a fucking dickhead and not very stable. I think he'd had 3 felonies prior to this.
Jesus Christ!
One,
what kind? Like
one of them was. Gee, do you remember the Flying Boat restaurant or 3 J's?
Yeah, the former home of the legendary 3 J's.
Yeah, so whatever that building was back in the 70s, he broke in through the roof, went down, and he got arrested as he was making burgers on the grill.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That was like I didn't know this shit. Like you don't know this information. But
well, yeah.
Sorry, we don't do background checks on everybody, Steve.
Yeah, back in those days. Yeah.
I was just thinking, if you don't get the fucking Corning Chamber of Commerce to sponsor this episode, you're missing out. They're getting so much free advertising. Like, and then there's the old Piggly Wiggly down on the corner there.
Dude, 3 J's.
That's espresso.
The 3 J's was the place to be in the summertime. You go there and get a fucking cone. You didn't go to McDonald's. It was like one of those 50s like burger stands, like kind of like a Mel's, but not quite. Like you could walk,
like
you could walk up, you could walk up, and they had like an outdoor like little booth, and you could order through like a plexiglass window, or it had a diner, a little L-shaped diner on the inside that you could go and pull up to the stool. But I remember that. Yeah, that place was fucking. It's like a Corning landmark. But since that, like, its prime time of being 3 J's, like this American burger stand, I think it went on to like 5 different fucking places, like different establishments, and then it finally settled.
Yeah,
on
it's been
Chinese. It's been a Chinese place called the Flying Boat for quite a while now. My grandpa actually lived 2 blocks from it, and he frequented it when it was doing well. But yeah, I don't know why. A lot of people I knew used to call it 3 Flies when it was 3 J's. Did you ever hear that, Dick?
No.
Let's go to 3 Flies. No? Okay. Anyway.
All right.
So
this guy's
3
a real
felonies.
piece of work.
That's serious, yeah.
And this was after the 3 strikes law was passed.
Oh, it was after? So he should have...
And I didn't know he had 3 felonies at the point, until we were getting into legal shit.
He must have got, like, grandfathered into that somehow then.
Well, not all...
that's what I'm thinking.
Not all felonies are strikeable felonies, though.
Oh, really? According to the California 3 strikes? Or was that a federal?
According to California, dude, no felonies.
Well, I meant California. Was that a federal, the 3 strikes? Or was it a state level?
I thought it was California.
It would be a state thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I think both things are probably true. He probably got 1 or 2 of them before they enacted
counted as the 3 strikes.
But yeah, I know not all felonies.
Get 2 bonus ones later.
Dude, yeah, that's right. I remember I knew some people, someone who isn't me's dad had like a lot of charges that I'm pretty sure had to have been felonies, and the 3 strikes didn't apply to them. So that makes sense that, there had to be some time period.
I think they need to be violent felonies to be strikeable.
Okay.
Or maybe that's how it used to be. But yeah, I think like what you're describing of like a break-in and entering, hamburger theft.
Yeah. The Hamburglar, they call
the Hamburglar.
Yeah, nice. Hell yeah. I mean, I don't know how that actually turns into a felony, but yeah, I could see it. But I don't know if that would count as a strike. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. That's pretty nuts though to have 3 felonies.
Yeah, and this is before he got married to your sister that he had these felonies.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there
And you
was
guys,
no,
you didn't know about that before,
no,
or did you? Okay.
no.
Yeah, and
I
like
would
this
have
time
expected
period.
just by looking at him being try not to be a judgmental piece of shit, but I can look at
Yeah,
somebody and
but that's
tell right
another thing.
away the
You're
kind
not
of
fucking
character they
Sonny
have.
Bono.
You did.
That
Sonny Bono was a lot nicer person than this guy, I think.
that's another thing about this day and age, like the double-edged sword of like having a lot of information. I mean, to me, that would be like one in the area where it's like good, where you can be proactive. Like right
Hey, it's
now,
my
Yeah,
cat.
like
yeah. I was like,
you can find out,
no. I
court
had my red
cases.
flags, but I didn't have paperwork. I didn't have
Right. And now, if
stats
you
on
wanted
them.
to, you could go on to any county at least in California, you can go to any county in the state and look up someone's name. You can look up prior charges. And, the internet being what it is, like you can find out way more about people nowadays than you
It's
could
funny.
back then.
I just stumbled across, Jody Arias.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a mutual friend
Yeah.
that is.
I just came
knows
across her mailing address online. I thought it might be funny to like write her a letter. I don't know. Just send her a bunch
Hey,
of.
do you know so and so?
I want
Well,
you to
not-
read a draft.
not so
of
much
what you
that.
send
But just send her like 100 would you rathers or just random questions to see if she writes back.
Mary fuck kills.
She has time.
Yeah, like do you like dogs or cats? She has nothing else to do. I thought it'd be a funny thing for the show to just become a pen pal with this crazy bitch who stabbed her ex-boyfriend to death.
Yeah, and what we're getting into is way not as crazy as that. So I mean, there's different, like when people who lose somebody and there's all these different scenarios about how they died. There's varying circumstances, and I was even thinking about that today, Steve. I was like, as crazy as this story is, I know somebody who's got to know somebody with the crazier story, and
Well, it's all relative. At the macro, at the largest scale, there's always going to be a bigger fucking fish, But
yeah.
yeah, you can always find, especially now when you have more access to information, that it's like ubiquitous. It's like there's always going to be something to one up. But with that all
Yeah.
said, I don't think you should downplay like
No,
this
it
scenario.
doesn't take away.
But
It doesn't take
that's
away
leading into
anything.
my point to the fact that that's why I kind of want to tell this story, because Steve, and I don't know, Gwenza, you have read the article in the Record Searchlight from the court date, and then that's just those little blurbs,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah.
you have a story out there like this that is known by everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's why I kind of wanted to tell this story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shed some light on it. Yeah, that's totally lacking
Yeah,
for sure.
and it's not to glorify or make
No.
people feel sorry for me or my family, or
No, it's just for
but it's just
I mean,
because
it's
these stories are untold. They're
right.
in the news and gone.
Yeah.
It's not just because, like you pointed out, like at that time in the Record Searchlight, there was maybe a half a paragraph blurb about what happened to your mom, and that's happened to countless of families and people that this has happened to. But then now, when you fast forward a little bit, there's way more information about things that have happened. Some of them get picked up and sensationalized, and I can see totally, like, you're not from a standpoint where you're trying to glorify it, or you're not trying to curry or bring attention, like feel sorry for me, feel bad. But to me, it's more of about like a respect thing of like, you're, I don't know if that sounds morbid to say paying tribute to your mom, but it's like, it's giving her more. It's giving her something more than like a half a paragraph. Like, yeah, this person was killed by this person. It goes on. You're trying to tell the story that it was never told, and I think it deserves to be told.
Yeah, she deserves the attention.
Yeah, because I mean, that it obviously goes without saying that that never should have happened, and it's a tragic event that deserves to be discussed. Like, this happened to this person. This person was a real person, that flesh and blood, that had a life, and it was taken from her. And
it was a caring person. That, like, there was like no reason other than for pure, I'd say, insanity for this to happen. So,
Yeah.
you want
So
to get into it?
yeah. So
Yeah.
Melissa moved back home to get away from Tim, right?
Yes.
How
Because
long
he
had
was.
she been back there, or do you
I
know?
do not know because. So, I'll pick it up with my birthday, May 2nd, 2001. That was the last time I saw my mom. Went there. It was my grandparents, my mom, her boyfriend Ivan, and they were the people that would move goats to pastures.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that?
When I lived in Rockland, Roseville area for a time, and they didn't have goats, but they had sheep that they would move from area
Some
to
they don't eat
area
shit.
to chew up and just it was
Eat the
like these
star thistle.
it was these in between areas between subdivisions that were like overgrown and they were really rocky
Yeah.
and like fucked up terrain to where you couldn't hire like a grounds crew. They'd probably charge you a fucking arm and a leg. So they would unleash these packs of like it had to have been a fucking 1,000 or 2,000 fucking sheep, and
Oh,
they
there's a
just
lot of goats.
they'd leave
Yeah.
them there for like
Sheep,
a week or two at a time, and then they,
cats.
huh?
Say goat, sheeps, or cats, whatever you want. Throw
Yeah,
them out in the field.
some kind of grazing creature, and yeah, they'd chew up this whole area, and they'd have electric fences and shit, so they'd stay in. And then I imagine I never saw it happen, but they'd fucking like pack them away, and they'd go to the next region because we used to go on like these little walks around like 2 or 3 mile walks on the weekends, and every once in a blue moon, be like, oh, the sheep are here, and they'd come up to the fence and. It's kind of funny, like even this day and age, like that's the best way to do it. But anyway, total aside, like I've seen that, but just not with goats.
Yeah. I see
Yeah.
it all over, and it always reminds me of my mom. When I'm driving, I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. I see
But
goats
yeah.
all the time because they're doing it for like fire prevention stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're just trying to get that shit fucking grazed down. And so I guess it was a big business 20 years ago. It was starting to pop up.
Well, it seems to benefit both parties, right? The people who own the land want the shit gone. The people who own the goats, who are then going
Want
to
to feed their
eventually,
goats
and I
and
don't know
get
if
paid for it.
they sell them for meat or milk or what, but they got to keep them alive. So it seems like a very symbiotic relationship
Yeah.
between the two. But those fuckers can
And-
eat, man.
oh, yeah. Oh, believe me, we had goats. Uh, but my mom, she started her own business when we were in Corning. Like I said in the last episode, that we weren't allowed to go on we weren't not allowed, but we couldn't go on a lot of vacations for a long period of time because we had animals and you had to pay somebody to take care of them. So
Oh,
she
yeah.
actually started a business. It's kind of funny. She had her name was D.L. Young. She didn't want to put Donna. She thought that might scare people away, so she put D.L. Young with the phone number. And on the other side, on that same line, was Will Barter on her flyer. And people would always call the house asking for Will Barter.
I
Oh
was
my
just gonna
God.
say, who's Will Barter? That's
People are
awesome.
so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Dude, that
Oh,
reminds me
yeah.
of a meme. It's like at a courthouse, and it's like a placard, and it said Bill Stickers will be investigated or something like that. And it's people putting up bills like like want ads and just different bills. But then someone wrote on it, it was like Bill Stickers is innocent. like the person anyway. Fucking dumb. But yeah, that when you first said that, I was like, oh, it's gonna be, they think it's a person.
Yeah. It was funny. Yeah, we'd probably we didn't get a lot of calls, but I'd say like 3 people a month would ring the horn on the phone in the kitchen, and we'll pick that up. And Will Barter there?
Hey, is Will?
All right. So
Wait, so she owned her, but what was the business again?
small car farm and kennel
Services.
maintenance. I don't know. Fuck. I feel bad. I feel like a dick for not.
Well, she
getting
would
that
like
thing down.
she would kennel
She-
dogs, right?
And
No,
other small
anything.
animals.
If she had a farm, she had actually some pretty. She had
Like she,
a client her and her husband had show horses, and it was just up Corning Road past Bartell's.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Steve, you're left out of that one.
Bartell's Giant Burger.
Yeah.
More local Corning talk, please.
And they had this place, and so they were steady clients where she'd actually have, because like I said earlier, Tim thought my mom wanted to move my sister home for her Social Security money. We were all out of the house.
Right.
The last thing my mom wanted at that point in her life was for any of us to be in her fucking house.
Right. She was doing her own thing. She was wheeling and dealing.
But
she had
the
business.
open door policy. If you ever need anybody, need somewhere to go, my door is always open for you.
Right. Like any good parent would.
Yeah. So that was Tim's mindset, was my mom is getting Melissa to move
She's
home.
trying to milk this somehow.
Not because I'm abusing her and she wants to get away.
Right.
It's Donna wants her to move home so she can get her $600-$700 a month.
Right. So he's classic narcissist psychopath.
Yeah.
Well, and I have to imagine he also thinks that she's like meddling between the two of them.
Yeah, actively plotting,
dragging a wedge.
I'm sure he had to. Like I have no. All right. I don't want to get into that part until we get to the court day, but
yeah.
So it was May 2nd, my birthday, 25th birthday, Bass Norte, my grandparents. You know, we have a great dinner because I don't know if you've ever ate at Bass Norte.
Oh, yeah.
That's some good food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I once ordered a steak there and I asked for it bloody, and it was the most delicious fucking steak I've ever had in my life.
Nice. You got to get it bloody. You got to get that shit red.
Oh, yeah.
Anything.
It was almost it was almost blue.
Or medium is fucking bad.
Yeah.
So that was, and you know, we were never the kind of family that sat there and said, I love you. I gave my mom, I think it was Christmas Eve, I went there, and Melissa was somebody I would always give a hug to because that was something that she really appreciated. My mom wasn't the same way. We were always sarcastic. Hey, I'll see you later, blah, blah. We wouldn't give like each other high fives or like fucking fist bumps or anything.
Daps.
But we wouldn't give each other hugs either. So I was there, and it was like Christmas Eve or something the year before she died. And I'm walking out and I was like, I give her a hug. And it was the most awkward thing in the world because it wasn't something that we ever did.
Right.
And I don't know if you guys can understand that, but it was like, she's all, oh, okay. And, but it was just to tell you, I mean, like I said, when I talked to my sister on that Thanksgiving on the previous podcast, for people that haven't listened, I was like, hey, Mom, Jennifer's on the phone. We weren't a very affectionate, close family. We loved each other.
Right.
We knew that, but it wasn't something you had to show. So, yeah, I remember giving her a hug, and that was like the last hug I gave her before the one on my birthday when we were finished dinner. We're going out. My roommate and I are getting ready to head out to the bars, you know, fucking 25, dog. And get my
25, dickhead, that's a chop.
Yeah. I probably didn't get anything that night. But you'd never think that is the last time you're going to see somebody so important in your life. So that was May 2nd, May 11th, 2001. So 5 months before 9/11. Tim decides that he wants to kill my mom and my sister. So Melissa, who, a little backstory, was known to hang out at the truck stops in the restaurants drinking coffee all night. We lived about,
like Petro?
I don't know, maybe for me, a 20-minute walk. For her, maybe a little longer. But we lived about a mile away from the truck stops on the other side of I-5. The truck stops are on the west or east side. We lived on the west side. And Melissa always had her, and I'm not sure when her and Tim, when their shit really hit the fan, when she decided to move home.
Mm-hmm.
But that night, thankfully, she didn't go home. I guess she was at the car show out at Woodson Bridge that day, and then however she may have walked. Who knows? That girl was insane. She would walk everywhere. But she didn't thankfully show up that night. So at around, I'm not sure, I haven't read the police report, but at some point Tim had showed up at the house. The house, it was a single wide mobile home, and he'd went out on the back porch and he cut the phone lines.
Jesus.
Not sure what he did in between the time, but he had taken a knife out and he went and sat in my mom's room, which is one of my old bedrooms at the time, which is right. So you have this trailer as it progresses, has a bedroom up front, the kitchen, living room, and then a hallway to a den, which was another one of my bedrooms, very small bathroom, and then one bedroom in the back. So it was like 2.5 bedrooms. One of them, I think, was more of a den because it was very small. But so he posted up in the front bedroom right by the kitchen. Phone lines are cut. At some point, I'm thinking this is around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. My mom comes home. She has some 2 bags of groceries in the truck, brings one in. I think she went out and got the other bag of groceries, brought it in, and then when she's in the kitchen, he comes out of the bedroom with the kitchen knife and stabs her 4 times, I think in the back. My mom struggles with him, gets the knife out of his hands, runs out of the house, down the steps, and then collapses in front of some rose bushes. I believe through testimony that he said he sat there, went out there, looked at her. He went in, got another knife, and went out there and stabbed her 13 more times.
Fuck.
I didn't know where all the stab wounds were, but when that article that Steve found, it said somewhere in the face. So he went back into the house, grabbed a sheet, went and covered her up, and then went back into the house to wait for my sister to come home for, I think he waited for 4 hours from what I remember.
Jesus Christ.
And then finally, for whatever reason, he gave up because my sister is probably at the truck stop. Hopefully at this point, not still out at Woodson Bridge. It's fucking dark.
Yeah.
But she'd go to the truck stop and drink coffee and just hang out there all the time. And then walk home. She came home at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Went in and saw, however she walked into the house, and one of the pictures I want to give Gwenza is the picture of the trailer. And then the bush closest to the walkway leading up to the porch is where my mom had fallen. So at some point, Tim gave up and rode his bike home, which is, 3 miles, I guess, from the truck stop to where they lived. And guess he stopped at the car wash across, or right next to, or a block down from 7-Eleven.
Yeah, right across from.
Do you know that car wash? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like kitty corner from 3J's Flying Boat.
Yeah. So in that car wash, he threw away his bloody shirt, I guess, and maybe a couple of other articles of clothing. Then went back to their apartment where they'd lived and went to bed. Well, Melissa comes home, walks in, sees a couple bags of groceries on the table or on the counter, and sees my mom's doors open but isn't home. And so she walks back outside and sees this sheet. And she picks it up, pulls it open, and then sees my mom laying there. So I can't imagine what's going through her mind at this point, man. Like, it's something that at this point, obviously, I don't know at this point, but she goes in, picks up the phone, and tries to call 911. Phone's dead because he'd cut the phone lines.
Right.
This is fully premeditated.
Yeah.
So she, like I said, I can't imagine what's going through her mind right now. And so she goes to the neighbor's house, and this is 4:30 now.
Are they
Knocking
pretty
on
far?
the door,
Are they pretty
they
far away?
answer.
Because you live out in the you're out in the country, basically. How
Yeah,
far did you
we're
have to
actually
go?
not in Corning city limits. We're in sheriff country.
You're in county.
We're just outside the city limits, so we're Tama County sheriffs.
Yeah.
She goes over there, says, "I believe that something's wrong with my mom. I need to call the cops." And I think she knew, but so they call 911. Cops come out. It was the sheriff's department because that's who we had to go talk to. So it wasn't Corning PD. She tells him, like, "Do you know who do this?" And she tells him right away that it was Tim. Like, Melissa knew right away that who had done this.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I don't know what led up to all this.
Right. How long after this had happened? Sorry to cut you off if you were getting to this point, but how long after this had happened?
I like the questions.
Were you alerted to this fact?
I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
Which is probably the next segment. So yeah, Melissa calls the cops. This is 4 a.m. on May 11th or May 12th.
12th.
So yeah. May 11th, it was the Friday night. It was May 11th. May 12th was a Saturday. And how fun. May 13th, Sunday is Mother's Day.
Fuck.
Yeah. So I, due to my low earning wage at the time and my roommate, we were behind on our phone bill. So couldn't call out long distance. He could only call like local numbers. So get up at 9:30 in the morning. It's a Saturday, and we had. Do you know what an answer machine is? We had an answer machine, and
yes.
So I played a message, and it was from Jennifer, and she's all, "Richard, you need to call me right now." And I thought it was something that happened to my nephew. Like, I can tell something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't call long distance.
So did your sister Jennifer have kids at this time? So you thought it was something happened to one of her kids?
Yeah, I thought it was her son. Something had happened
nephew?
to. Like, I wasn't even thinking about my mom at all.
Right, like he was in the hospital or something happened.
It was
I was
long
like, "Hey,
distance
Richard,
back
you need to
then?
call me right now." So
From Chico to Corning?
yeah, she was in
long
Corning
distance?
at the time. She moved back to Corning back in the mid-90s. Or no.
But it was long distance from Chico to Corning?
Yeah. For the landlines, you had to be like really local in order to. Dude, one of the times I made my mom cry is I ran up like a $300 phone bill calling a girl. It was weird. You can call from Orland to Corning, and it was not long distance, but you do it backwards, and it was long distance. And, I'm just sitting out there on the porch on a phone because that's where our phone was at that point. And I remember I just ran up, and I didn't realize at the time, just talking to this girl, and ran up a $300 phone bill. And I remember her just breaking down about not being able to like afford that. And I think she reached out to my grandparents and got some help. But dude, there were only a couple times in my life where I felt like I did my mom wrong. And those stick with me. And, but yes, making long distance phone calls was one of them. But yeah, from Chico to Corning was a long distance call.
That's pretty innocuous. I would say.
The what?
I that's pretty low level shit to like.
I know. I was.
It's like as a point of as a quick point of levity, as being a bad kid. I remember I was in Corning in 4th grade, and I charged up like $300 or $400 worth of charges calling like porno, like 1-800 numbers at my grandparents' house. And I remember I don't know if you I think you know by like reputation my grandpa, or may have met him a couple times, but my grandpa confronted me one time. I was over there and he had gotten the phone bill, like the paper copy, in the mail, and he was sitting, like, he got home and he was sitting by the mantle where the fireplace was roaring, and he's sitting there cross-legged, and I'm sitting on the couch, and he's like, you want to talk to me about some of these numbers that you called? Like, he knew everything, and he just fucking he grilled me, dude, for like 30 minutes, and I was like 10 years old. And it was pretty traumatic at that time. Like, I was like, oh fuck, man. But yeah, I racked up some. These were like real ass long distance calls, dude. like if he would have been able to spell out the numbers, it was like 1-800-969-TITS, like shit like that I saw on like the Spice Channel when they would advertise their little interstitials. They'd be like, call 1-800 for a good time, baby. Yeah. Anyway, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it was different. We'll tell my story in a different episode one day. Because I know Steve's itching at the bit.
It's one of my favorite ones.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
not today.
We'll save that. We'll save it. Bank it.
All right. So Tim had rode his bike home, ditched part of his clothes into the trash can. He was still wearing the shorts with my mom's blood on it. So when Melissa, obviously when the sheriffs came and talked to her, she knew right away what had happened.
So did they take her word? Like okay,
oh, yeah,
cool. They went straight to his house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Found him.
Good.
He was in bed, or I don't know if they use the battering ram to.
I hope they buried a fucking billy club into his spine when they woke him up.
But they said when they confronted him, he was at the house or the apartment, and he was wearing shorts still with my mom's blood on it. So, you can kind of follow the trail to him being the guy.
Yeah.
And it's weird. You got to show the first 48. I mean, this is the first
48 seconds
12
or 48 minutes.
And
probably.
It was they were able to get him.
So as far as like the case went and like looking or like the early part of the case, they were able to identify and they got him, they snatched him up and they had him pretty much dead.
Oh, he was arrested before I even knew about my mom's murder.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, like I said, I was a scumbag and we didn't pay our phone bill, which got us off on a tangent.
That's on me.
So I had, and I don't even know if I had my sister's phone number. I think she left it on the answering machine. So I wrote it down and I'm just like, what the fuck's going on? Well, I'm on at the apartment where I lived. It was called Inglewood back in the day, across from Trans-Pacific. You guys know where that is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, fuck, dude, what's going on? Walk all the way down to the Shell station on the corner of West Sac and Nord.
Yep.
And there's a phone booth there. Get in the phone booth, reach in. I don't got my fucking sister's phone number.
Damn.
Fuck. Had to walk all the way back to my apartment, get the phone number, and I was like, fuck this. I called, because I can call local, called my old roommate, Dawn, who lived at Trans-Pacific. I was like, hey, Dawn, can I come over? I need to make a phone call real quick. So I go over there, I can dial my sister's number, and first thing she said is, Mom's dead. And I fall to the floor, like you can't imagine, man. Like, I'm not expecting to hear anything like that.
No.
And I was like, what the fuck? And so Dawn's looking at me like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, okay, I'm going to try to get over there as soon as I can. Hang up. And honestly, I can't tell you. I'm sure she did, because I'm sure I asked what happened in that moment. But like in my mind, everything was just so fucking like, I can't remember if she told me then, if I knew at that point what had happened. So I go home. Well, my only ride to Corning is Matt, and he doesn't get off work for another 2 hours. So I'm just sitting in my apartment like, how in the fuck, like, what's going to happen? Like, what happened? I need to get there.
How long did you have to wait?
like I said, about 2 hours because
So you
I
had
got a
2
hold of
hours.
Matt and I was like,
So you
hey,
got
as soon as you get home, I need to ride to Corning.
so you to put in the mind frame, you got the news out of the blue that your mom's dead, and then you have 2 hours to sit there and you have to stew on it, and
Yeah,
you didn't see any of this coming with like Tim. You know, you knew he was kind of a loose cannon or just a shady
I didn't see
character.
anything like that coming.
Right,
Shit.
but that's got to be even with his like background and being kind of a sketchy character, that was still like, you know, this is still like a nuclear bomb has just gone off kind of in your life at this point, and
Yeah,
you have to
I
wait
think
two
now that you
hours.
bring that up, you bring that question up. I do think I think Jennifer had mentioned that Tim had killed mom.
Okay,
I don't know if she'd went into the details at that point, but it was like like I'm saying, everything at that moment, from going to the phone booth and then to Dawn's and then until I got to Corning was just a fucking
either
haze.
way, even if you knew he killed her or not, or if that she's dead, you had to stew on that information for 2 hours before.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
intense, man.
So Matt gets home and we drive straight to my sister's apartment. And we're sitting there and we're just going over everything that had happened. Melissa's there, Jennifer's there.
How is your sister handling this at this point? Is
Which
she a
one?
wreck? Your Melissa,
Oh, Melissa's a wreck. Melissa was a wreck for the rest of her
like,
life.
in, well, I
Yeah, I'm just yeah.
understood, but at this point, is she like inconsolable and like screaming and like?
No. She was happy that I was there.
Okay,
Like, no. So I was there where I was there for about a half hour just talking to him, trying to figure out what went on. And then I thought, holy shit, has anybody called grandma and grandpa? And Jennifer's all no. So I called the house in Alameda and Bay Farm Island, on Island.
and these are your mom's parents, correct?
Yes.
So, and these are people that are very important to you too. So they're having to
Yes.
hear
They're
this, like
they're
having no idea of what's going on.
yeah. And so they didn't answer the phone and I thought, okay, I better call the phone at the cabin and call that. And my grandma answered the phone. And I was like, Grandma? And she's all, oh, hey, Richard, how you doing? And I was like, Grandma, you need to sit down right now. And she does. She's all, what's going on? What's, what's going on? And I was like, Mom's been murdered. And I'm all, you guys need to get here right now. And that was the hardest fucking call I've ever had to make in my life.
Yeah, I'm sure, man.
And I'll tell you this about my grandpa. He was a former cop living in the city.
Former
So,
chief
he's attributed
former
his slow driving,
Alameda
or my
police
mom would,
chief.
to him driving up and you see an alley, so you slow down. So he's always a gas, stop, gas, brake, gas, brake. And that's how he drove in life. But I swear to God, they got from our cabin, which is at least 3 hours away. I swear to God, it was 2.5 hours. And they were in Corning at my sister's apartment. And yeah, so we had to try to figure out what to do next. And so that was Saturday. They got a room. I don't know if I stayed at Jennifer's or if I stayed in the hotel room with them. But the next day, our next move was to go up to the sheriff's department in Red Bluff.
At this point, do they make you go through all of like the kind of procedural? Like, did you have to identify a body, or did they start questioning, or
No, we never had
were
to
they
identify a body. I don't know if this was a case where identification
was not needed?
wasn't needed.
Yeah, or were they
But at
up your
least
ass for
I
like
know none of
details?
us had to go in and say, yes, that is Donna Young. But so, yeah, it's Sunday, Mother's Day, be Sunday, May 13th, I believe. Right? Mother's Day is the second Sunday in May.
Sure, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know actually.
Super
Check your
cruel either
calendars.
way.
Yeah.
So we went up to the sheriff's department. We went in, knocked on the door or the window of the the information desk or the receptionist, and officer came out and were like, "Hey, we are the family of my grandfather took the lead on this, and we're the grandfather or the family of Donna Young that was murdered in Corning, and my grandfather's all, I'd like to be able to speak to the officer that was on scene that took the record." And they're all, "Well, we're sorry, it's Mother's Day, he has a day off." And one of the most badass things I've ever seen from a guy that's been retired for, at this point, over 20 years.
And your grandpa your grandpa wasn't just a cop. He was a former police chief of Alameda.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this guy, he knows a thing or two about a thing or two.
And he's about to lay it down.
Yeah. He flashed his ID. I don't think there's not a badge in there, but his whatever he showed them, the guy's all, "Hold on just a second," and left, made a phone call. I shit you not. The cop that was on scene showed up 15 minutes later.
Wow.
From mowing his lawn. Like,
yeah.
They're all, "Hey, this is one of ours. Like, this isn't."
Yeah.
So he showed up and he gave us the whole breakdown of basically what I've been able to tell you right now. But dude, it was I don't know, it was sobering to see that, people do look out for their own, and then when they realized that this wasn't just some lady that got killed, it was
your grandpa was probably
the daughter of somebody.
I don't care if
given
it's
her
Mother's
life
Day. That guy needs to get his ass down here inside of 10 minutes.
And he was. Yeah.
Damn.
That's one of the most memorable things about, well, I mean, there are a lot of memorable things, but that's something that sticks out. So after we got all the information we could, and between that time, and it sucks, we had reporters, because this is something that just happened that day. So I don't know if it was Action News at that point or just KNVN or whatever. We had somebody out there.
I always remember it as just Channel 24. I don't know if it was still that same number.
I think it was 24
in that day, but yeah.
Yeah, they weren't combined at that point.
They came in and they asked you for like a statement, or?
No, I was on the news and I can't even remember because I can't find it what I said. But at one point, I called Tim Goofy. My grandfather's like, "Don't say that." And we asked them not to print or air that portion. And sure enough, they did. So in the newspaper, I don't know if it was on the news, but on the newspaper, it was all Goofy husband murdered. Like, it was, and it was
Jesus
just like,
Christ.
My grandfather knew right away, like, don't say this or didn't say that. But,
well, still though, like even with you saying that, a company or an outfit like that should have the fucking wherewithal not to print something as fucking stupid as that. Like, not saying you're stupid. I mean, you were in the moment of thinking of a lot of things, I'm sure, man. But yeah, they should have more like professional like integrity to like, label it something.
Especially
different.
after my grandfather asked them not to print that, but
neither
here nor there. That's all
bush
forgotten. Probably can't be found on.
We do not live in Shoodland, unfortunately.
So next thing I remember is my aunt flew in from Atlanta.
Hotlanta.
Like, she flew in from Atlanta. She got there. She was up there. So she found out obviously Saturday, like after I told my grandparents, and she flew in the next day to Sacramento and got up there. And on Sunday, I remember we went to I don't know what it is now, but it used to be Porpoise.
Yep.
It was a diner, so right along the river, and we're sitting there, and we decided, okay, we need to go sit down and eat.
I'm sure you've been strung out at this point for like 36 hours or something like that.
Yeah. This is Mother's Day, and at one point, maybe it was after I take her, or maybe it was when she came to take our order, the waitress is all, "Hey," because I'm there with my aunt, my two sisters, my grandma, and she's all, "Hey, happy Mother's Day, everybody."
Oh yeah, she's angling for a fucking tip hardcore.
Well, no, she's just trying to. But Melissa,
well, yeah, she could have she could have no idea what's going on. She's just trying to be nice.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's not her fault. She's just doing her waitress thing that you're supposed to do, other than serving bleach to
Oh, God.
those Denny's fucks serve bleach to.
Hey, I wouldn't lump Percos in with Denny's, man. Denny's is fucking garbage.
But yeah,
Percos is
Melissa
a
broke
relic of
down,
a
so
bygone.
I had to get
Sorry.
up and I walked outside with her for like 20 minutes. Just
Dump a little itching
eyeing
powder
the
down her
hamburger out
back,
the
and
window, like waiting for her. But I had to, like,
Push.
dude, you have to understand what we all went through, but what especially she was going through at that point.
Yeah, I think about that
Like,
sometimes. Like I used to, one of my former jobs was I used to take care of people with like special needs and that had they were like neurodivergent, I think is the buzzword now, or like developmental disabilities, and I saw them go through kind of a range of emotions, but like I can only imagine like something this hardcore or this kind of like earth shattering to like a foundation such as your mom. I can only imagine how much more complex the struggle and like heartache would be, like drawn out by virtue of having a sister who has a developmental disability, because even the smallest thing in people that are affected by that kind of thing, even the smallest thing will set them off. Like I had cases where if you didn't focus too much attention on one person, like they would like pick up a flower pot and throw it at you, or a fucking chair or something. Like that shit happened to me before. So I can only imagine, like, something that severe happening, and how it might affect, even just like a normal mindset, like, and having to deal with that. So I get my other question I had too was like, did you notice with your sister, specifically Melissa, and the relationship you had with her, did it make things much worse moving forward, or was it like another thing that you had to worry about or
well, it
manage?
was definitely something I had to worry about, but
Right, yeah, that probably goes
and it
without
was
saying.
definitely a lot more than I had to worry about because, to be honest, I was in Chico. That was nothing I really ever had to worry about because my mom was there to take care of any situations. So this all of a sudden thrust everything into the forefront for me,
Right, because then
having to
like
make
you
sure that she was okay.
right.
And I will say that I probably failed her at times, and that hurts. I didn't do anything bad to her, but I know there were times where I think that my interest of what I was doing that particular time, where I probably should have went over to Corning. I was like, "Oh, I'll be there tomorrow," instead of actually going there when I was scheduled to go there.
Right.
Like and that actually still that hurts me. I wish I could have done a much better job of taking care of her in the aftermath. But I just didn't have the where like
I think you don't, not to sound like this like a therapy session, but I don't think you should be that hard on yourself, because I
I'm not
mean,
hard on myself, but it is something I think about. Like
yeah, and that's fair to like feel that pain and stuff, but I don't think, I mean, that happening to anyone that didn't have that huge responsibility kind of thrust on them, if they just like a normal, mid-20s dude that was going through stuff, and his mom had tragically left, but then he didn't have anything to like be responsible, anyone to be responsible for. He just had to kind of deal with it and move on with their life. You were in a different situation where you had a sister with special needs, and then all of a sudden it's a completely different like paradigm that you're dealing with, because now you're ostensibly responsible for that person, right? Like I don't think you should be too hard on yourself, because I can remember being my
no.
mid-20s. If that would fucking happen to me, dude, I would have made multiple tons of mistakes and failures, and at that age you think you're invincible, and you're thinking about, what do I want? What do I want to do? What's in my best interest? So I think it's totally understandable, long story long, as you would say, like, and you shouldn't beat yourself up on anything that you thought you lacked on, I guess.
no, I'm not. I'm not beating myself up, but it is something like, just full disclosure, something I do think about that I could have done a better job. I didn't do a bad job. Hear a lot of cases in the news where people did a lot worse.
Well, I could even tell, like, not knowing any part of your story, but like just working with you, like anecdotally, like I knew you had a sister with special needs and you took care of her. Like the way I thought about it was just like, oh, this like it added something like this guy's gone through some shit and he had to take care of his sister with special needs, and they but it was more than that. It was like you were friends, like you were happy to do it, and you know, like that's the way I understood everything, you know, like before us breaking down like what actually, like the chain of events and what happened after. I mean, that's how I always understood it. So I think you did a fine job, and I mean, if anyone else in that position, you know, it would break a weaker man. So
I don't know where we should go from here.
I think this might be a good stopping point.
Should we fill you in on where Tim currently resides and his status?
if you want to tie it up, or I mean, you know, we can continue this on a separate episode. Like I think we're at the 2 hour mark, so
I think this is a good breaking point.
yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's up to you too, Dick. Like I got a timestamp for this point on too, so like I don't know, I don't want to exploit any like further old wounds. So if your intention on like this episode was try to like get through this and beyond, let me know. Or if you find like tying
Yeah,
this up on the
because
next episode, or because I know another. Sorry, go ahead.
The one thing we never got to was the actual being in court,
Yeah,
and then Tim's current status, if you would.
right.
So
Well,
we can.
and I thought too, like it would be it, it's deserving of more talk too about like the aftermath and like with your sister, because and then
That is true. There's a lot to do.
that's a
there.
huge, because that's a huge part of your story too, is then the beyond, and then you know, the event with your sister too. So I don't want to try to, yeah, I think that's a good call, because again, like with the previous episode, it wouldn't make sense to like try to like, you know, hurry this up and close the loop in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So yeah, I think this is a good stopping point. You good with that? On the last episode too, I noticed that I feel like I talked way too much. Steve, do you have anything you want to say, or like, I know I have a habit of railroading and just stepping into stuff. Did you have any?
You have a
thoughts on
habit
where
of
we're at right
rambling?
now?
Fuck.
No.
All right.
No.
I'll make sure not to hang up this time.
Yeah.
I'll try
Okay.
not to.
So yeah, I think we're gonna take a breather on this episode. So as always, if we haven't had many questions sent our way, but if you do, our lines are always open. You can reach out to us via email at waxingtheporpoise.com, or you can hit us up on either of our socials. We're active on Instagram is Waxing the Porpoise, and Twitter is Waxing the Porp. Give us a shout. We've had some good feedback on the first part of Richard's story. I'm curious to see if anyone's got any questions, or in general, or about Richard, or his story that you want to send our way. Please do, and continue to listen to the show if you're digging it, and if you do, leave us a like or a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate you tuning in. Thank you very much again. I know this is like, I mean, this is intense shit that's hard to talk about. So I appreciate you kind of laying it open, and like we said before, you know, like paying respect to your mom. And I'm glad that this kind of format is conducive to that. And beyond that, just getting to talk with an old friend is like, I mean, starting this whole podcast was, I thought it would be like an interesting or fun way to keep in touch with friends and with Steve, and it's brought other people in, and that's the most like rewarding part of it for me, is to just continue to keep in touch and have this kind of format. So as it worked out, you know, this feels like it was a good opportunity and chance to tell your story, and we've had good feedback on it. So I'm glad we're able to do it, and as somber as this episode was, and I know there's more to come too, but we got hints in the first episode of there's a lot of funny stuff too. There's a lot of fun anecdotes, and it's like even talking to you now, it's like I remember. It's like it's like a bottomless pit, of stories. It's like I remember even working with you like day by day. It's like, oh, there's a new story. There's a new story, or if there's not, there's fun like tiebacks to things. So.
Well, Chico is sinking, so that's like a bottomless pit.
I've seen various other holes to nowhere. So yeah, we'll definitely keep this thing going. So thanks for joining us, Richard. Thank you again for joining us. We'll be back to close the loop for sure. TBD. I don't know what we're doing next week. But
give me a couple weeks.
We have some previous
Christmas
commitments.
Eve, is that a Saturday? Going to my first game at Levi's Stadium against the Commanders.
Nice.
Niners Commanders.
In beautiful Santa Clara, California.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
With a sober person, so I can get over up and drink so many Coors Lights.
So you can get ham-boned on Cheez-Its and Coors Light. That'd probably be a good opportunity to incorporate that ratio so you don't get too hammed and actually remember the game. Okay, cool. Any final thoughts? Or what have you guys been doing the last week?
Well,
anything interesting you want to talk about?
No.
Something new, fun? You want to close it up? Okay. Alrighty. Well, thank you again for joining us. We'll be back with Richard again, to be sure. Don't know what we're doing next week, but check us out. Bye.
Bye.
We'll see you when we see you. We'll see you later.